Elian talks to Jesus about the rapture, the secret conversation hidden from humanity. What if the most revealing conversation about the rapture never happened in a church, never appeared in a sermon, and never echoed through human history the way we expect, but instead unfolded beyond our world, asked by a being who sees reality without our distractions? I want you to stay with me, because this is not a story meant to replace Scripture. It is meant to expose how often we misunderstand it. Imagine a question asked without fear of death, without cultural bias, without religious habit. A question asked not by a sinner trying to escape judgment, but by a watcher trying to understand love. When that question is brought to Jesus, the answer does not sound like timelines or charts or warnings shouted into the void. It sounds like truth stripped of noise. We spend so much time asking when the rapture will happen that we rarely ask what it reveals. We argue over signs while Jesus keeps pointing to hearts. We watch the sky while heaven watches devotion. And somewhere in that gap between expectation and preparation, we risk missing the meaning of the very thing we are waiting for. This conversation, imagined but rooted in biblical truth, is not about aliens. It is about perspective. It is about what becomes clear when the questioner is not distracted by comfort, tradition, or fear. When Jesus answers, he does not speak of escape, panic, or sudden chaos. He speaks of recognition, relationship, and readiness formed over time. As you listen, don't ask whether this could happen. Ask what it reveals, because the most unsettling part is not the question asked by a being beyond humanity. It is how closely Jesus' answer confronts the way we live, the way we wait, and the way we love right now. Part 1. The question no human ever asked. The being did not approach Jesus with urgency, fear, or personal concern. It did not worry about survival. It did not ask how to be saved. It did not fear judgment. And that absence of fear made its question sharper than anything humanity has ever asked about the rapture. It was not driven by self-interest. It was driven by understanding. Why do you remove some and leave others behind? To human ears, that question sounds familiar. It echoes through sermons, debates, and late-night fears. But when the being asked it, there was no panic beneath the words, only curiosity. And Jesus immediately addressed the assumption hidden inside the question. He did not correct the being's posture. He corrected its premise. It is not removal, Jesus said. It is recognition. That single word reframed everything. Recognition implies prior knowledge, familiarity, a relationship that already exists before the moment arrives. Jesus explained that the rapture is not a sudden sorting event where heaven scrambles to decide who belongs. It is the visible response of hearts that already know him. Those who are taken are not reacting to danger. They are responding to a voice. The response is not calculated. It is instinctive. Just as a child turns at the sound of a parent's call, those who are ready respond because they recognize him immediately. The being struggled with this idea. Then why do so many on earth speak confidently about this moment, it asked, yet live as if it is distant? Jesus did not answer with frustration. He answered with sadness, because they have learned to confuse knowledge with closeness. He said, they believe that knowing about me is the same as staying with me. He explained that humans are uniquely skilled at replacing intimacy with familiarity. Over time, belief becomes assumed rather than lived. Devotion becomes routine rather than intentional. Love becomes memory instead of pursuit. People still believe Jesus is real. They still believe he will return, but they stop listening closely enough to recognize him when he speaks. Recognition, Jesus said, is trained through attention, through obedience, when it is inconvenient, through devotion when nothing dramatic is happening, through choosing closeness again and again during long seasons of delay. Recognition is not learned in crisis. It is cultivated in quiet. The being asked another question humans rarely ask honestly. So belief alone is not enough. Belief opens the relationship. Jesus replied, it does not maintain it, He explained that belief can exist without attentiveness, faith can remain without watchfulness, a person can genuinely believe in his return and still live as if it has little relevance to daily life. Recognition, however, requires presence. It requires listening. It requires staying close enough that his voice remains familiar. The being began to understand something unsettling. The rapture does not test belief. It reveals intimacy. It does not measure doctrine. It exposes devotion. Those who respond do not do so because they were correct. They respond because they were close. What about those who believe but have drifted? The being asked. They will still believe when the moment comes, Jesus answered quietly. The silence that followed was heavy, because the question was never really about who is taken. It was about who has been listening all along. And listening, Jesus made clear, is not something done at the last moment. It is a posture shaped over time. Part 2. Why heaven sees the rapture differently than earth. The being then asked a question that exposed the vast gap between heaven's understanding and earth's anxiety. Why does the moment appear sudden to them? It asked. From heaven's perspective, nothing about the rapture felt abrupt. The waiting was visible. The formation of hearts was observable. The preparation was ongoing. Jesus explained that earth and heaven measure time differently. Earth measures time by events. Heaven measures time by formation. Humans watch the sky. Heaven watches the heart. Humans track signs, wars and chaos. Heaven observes devotion, endurance and love that survives delay. What feels sudden to earth is, to heaven, completion. The final note of a long process. The moment when preparation has fully done its work. Suddenness does not mean there was no warning. It means the warning was relational, not dramatic. The being asked why the timing was hidden. Why not tell them the moment, it said. Jesus answered without hesitation. Because love revealed by countdown is not love, it is compliance. If humanity knew the exact moment, obedience would be transactional. Faithfulness would be temporary. Fear would replace devotion. People would endure righteousness instead of desiring closeness. They would live for the deadline rather than for the relationship. Jesus explained that hidden timing protects motive. It reveals whether love is conditional or genuine, whether devotion exists only under pressure or can endure silence. Heaven is not impressed by last-minute urgency. It values long obedience in ordinary days. The being began to understand the delay differently. So the delay is not absence, it said. No, Jesus replied, the delay is mercy. Mercy for those still waking up. Mercy for those being refined. Mercy for those learning to love, without needing fear to force them. The delay allows devotion to mature. It allows intimacy to deepen. It allows intimacy to deepen. It allows recognition to become instinctive rather than reactive. From heaven's view, the rapture is not triggered by darkness in the world. It is triggered by completion in the bride. The world may grow louder, darker, and more chaotic, but heaven is watching something else entirely. It is watching love endure, faith remain alive, awareness stay sharp. That is why heaven waits without anxiety, because heaven knows what earth often forgets. The most important work before the rapture is not happening in the sky. It is happening quietly, patiently, relentlessly in the heart. And when that work is complete, the moment will come, not as a shock to heaven, not as chaos in eternity, but as recognition made visible. Part 3. The secret humans keep misunderstanding. The being listened without interruption, then asked a question that pierced deeper than any debate humanity has ever held about the end times. Why do they speak constantly about your return? It asked, yet live as though you are distant. There was no accusation in the question, only observation, and Jesus did not deny the truth embedded in it. Because familiarity dulls urgency, he said. Jesus explained that the most dangerous misunderstanding about the rapture is not confusion over prophecy charts or timelines. It is confusion about nearness. Over time, humans move Jesus from the center of daily awareness to the edges of belief. He remains real but no longer central, important but not immediate, loved but not actively listened to. People assume that because they believe, they are awake. But belief can exist without attentiveness. Faith can remain while watchfulness fades. The heart does not stop believing in Jesus. It simply stops expecting him today. The being began to understand something subtle and troubling. Humans rarely reject Jesus outright. Instead, they postpone him. They delay obedience. They delay devotion. They delay repentance. They live as if intimacy can always be resumed later, as if closeness has no cost when deferred. Jesus explained that spiritual sleep does not begin with rebellion. It begins with neglect, not dramatic sin, but quiet distraction. The heart does not decide to fall asleep. It simply stops paying attention. Prayer becomes shorter. Listening becomes rushed. Conviction becomes easier to ignore. Over time, the soul grows comfortable in a half-awake state. Humans, Jesus said, often wait for signs in the sky while ignoring the alarms in the soul. They want confirmation without confrontation, assurance without adjustment. They hope the final moment will force clarity, not realizing that clarity is formed long before the moment arrives. The being asked, "Is this misunderstanding intentional?" "No," Jesus replied. "It is gradual. No one plans to drift. No one decides to grow distant. It happens quietly, without announcement." Urgency fades not because truth disappears, but because attention shifts elsewhere. Jesus spoke of postponed devotion as one of the greatest dangers before the rapture. People assume there will always be time later to awaken, later to listen, later to realign, but later slowly trains the heart to delay response, and delay weakens recognition. The rapture will not awaken them, Jesus said softly, it will reveal them. The being felt the weight of that truth. Humans assume the suddenness of the moment will force everyone to respond. But recognition is not produced by shock. It is produced by relationship. When the moment arrives, hearts will respond, not based on information, but on familiarity. Jesus explained that the rapture does not interrupt life. It exposes how life has been lived. It does not create devotion. It reveals whether devotion endured. It does not manufacture love. It reveals whether love stayed alive through delay. Those who are spiritually asleep do not lack theology, they lack attentiveness. They know what to believe, but they no longer listen closely enough to recognize his voice. And that, Jesus said, is the secret humans keep misunderstanding. Readiness is not about knowing more, it is about staying near. Part 4. Why this conversation was never meant to be heard. After a long silence, the being asked what seemed like the final question. Why is this not explained to them plainly? Why not speak directly, unmistakably, so no one misunderstands? Why allow confusion to persist? Jesus' fit answer was calm but firm. It has been spoken, he said. It is not hidden, it is ignored. He explained that truth does not always remain unheard because it is mysterious. Often it remains unheard because it is uncomfortable. Calls to stay awake, confront comfort. Warnings to watch challenge, distraction. Invitations to stay close, expose distance. Humans often want revelation without disruption. Information without interruption. They want to understand the future without examining the present. But the rapture forces a question many prefer to avoid. Not do I believe the right things, but am I actually close? Jesus said he spoke these truths through parables, because parables reveal posture, not just knowledge. They bypass defenses. They expose how a person listens. Those who want truth will hear truth, he said. Those who want reassurance without change will hear nothing new. The being realized that this conversation was never meant to be hidden as a secret. It was never concealed to protect humanity. It was overlooked because it demands response, and truth that requires response is the easiest truth to delay. This conversation is not meant to shock, Jesus said. It is meant to awaken. The rapture is not designed as a cosmic spectacle meant to impress the universe. It is a relational moment meant to honor love that endured waiting. It is the bride responding to the bridegroom, not because of fear, but because of familiarity. The being finally understood why silence surrounds the timing. Silence is not absence, it is space. Space for devotion to grow without pressure. Space for love to mature without fear. Space for recognition to become instinctive rather than reactive. Jesus explained that heaven does not measure readiness by visibility, influence, or noise. It measures quiet faithfulness, daily listening, obedience when no one applauds, love that remains alive when nothing dramatic is happening. This conversation, Jesus said, was never meant to be broadcast as spectacle. It was meant to echo in the conscience, to gently disturb comfort, to quietly challenge delay, to awaken those willing to listen before suddenness arrives. Because when the moment finally comes, it will not reward those who spoke the most about his return. It will reveal those who lived as if he was already near. Part 5. What this conversation means for you right now. The being sensed that the conversation was nearing its end, but one question remained, one that pointed directly toward Earth, toward humanity, toward every person who waits and wonders. If this moment is about recognition, it asked, then what are they supposed to do now while they wait? Jesus did not give a complicated answer. He did not list rituals, strategies, or timelines. He did not speak of fear or survival. He spoke of posture. Stay awake, he said. Stay devoted. Stay close. Jesus explained that waiting is not passive time. It is formative time. Every day of delay is shaping the heart in one direction or another. No one stands still spiritually. The soul is either becoming more attentive or more distracted, more sensitive or more numb, more aligned or more distant. Humans often think preparation means doing more, learning more, watching more, predicting more, but Jesus made it clear that preparation is not about accumulation, it is about attentiveness, about choosing closeness repeatedly in ordinary moments, about living as if relationship matters now, not later. The being understood then that the rapture is not something people are merely waiting for. It is something they are being shaped for. And that shaping happens quietly, invisibly, through small daily decisions, through whether prayer becomes rushed or honest, through whether obedience is delayed or immediate, through whether love remains intentional or becomes assumed. Jesus spoke of how easily believers drift when nothing urgent forces them to choose. Comfort becomes dangerous, not because it is sinful, but because it encourages sleep. Distraction becomes deadly, not because it is evil, but because it steals attention. Over time, the heart learns to live half-aware, convinced that tomorrow will always provide another opportunity to awaken. This is why I warned them to watch, Jesus said. Not because the moment is frightening, but because sleep is subtle. The being saw clearly now, the greatest danger before the rapture is not deception from outside. It is dullness within, a heart that still believes, but no longer listens closely, a faith that still speaks, but no longer responds quickly, a love that still remembers, but no longer pursues. Jesus made it clear that those who are ready are not perfect. They are present. They live with awareness. They listen. They respond. They remain close, even when waiting feels long and silence feels heavy. This is what they must do, Jesus said. Not wait harder, but love deeper. The being understood that the conversation was never about aliens, or secrets, or hidden knowledge. It was about revealing what truly matters before the final moment arrives, because the final moment will not create readiness, it will reveal it. Conclusion: the conversation was never about aliens, it was about us. This conversation was never meant to fascinate the imagination. It was meant to confront the heart. It uses an unfamiliar voice to expose a familiar truth. Humanity often misunderstands the very thing it claims to be waiting for. The rapture is not a mystery designed to confuse believers. It is a mirror designed to reveal them. It does not ask who predicted correctly. It reveals who stayed close. It does not reward urgency born of fear. It honors devotion that endured delay. Jesus is not hiding the moment to frustrate humanity. He is shaping hearts to meet it. The silence is not absence. The delay is not neglect. It is mercy. It is space. It is invitation. You are not waiting for an event. You are being formed for a meeting. Every day your heart is learning whether to recognize His voice or grow accustomed to ignoring it. Every moment of delay is either deepening intimacy or dulling awareness. The question is not whether you believe He is coming. The question is whether you are living as if He is near, because when the moment finally arrives, it will not ask what you knew. It will not ask what you assumed. It will not ask what you postponed. It will simply reveal what you loved. Stay awake, stay devoted, stay close.